I'd like to do is take about 30 minutes off my presentation. I'll send you my presentation, all of it in an email with the quotes and the stories and everything, and then I'll give the last part of it. And so that you'll have it, and then we can stay better on time. And I want Tumi to be able to just relax and knowing that I can get us back on time a little bit better. So the very first part of my presentation that I'm not going to give talks about how to create change in your life, and that you are an agent of change, and that you can create positive change no matter what's happening around you. The second part that I am going to give is 7 ways to create your own happiness no matter what's happening around you. And you'll get this all in an email, so you don't need to even take any notes. Just relax and enjoy. And actually, I have a 90-minute presentation that I'll send to you, and it talks about a lot of things. And I just ask that when I send it, that you read through it. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Because I know that some of these principles, and they're principles that I learned and now I share, but they're life-changing. They absolutely rearrange your DNA when you understand them on a cellular level and you really put them to use into your life. So the 7 ways to create your own joy, no matter what's happening around you, no matter how many, I like to call them human porcupines you have in your life. Those are the difficult to love, and we all have the difficult to love, and sometimes they have our last names, right? So it's true. So wonderful, this quote. One of the presidents of the United States, Abraham Lincoln, said, "Folks are about as happy as they make up their minds to be." And Dale Carnegie, who wrote How to Win Friends and Influence People, he said, happiness doesn't depend on outer conditions. It isn't what you have. I'm going to say that again. It isn't what you have, or what you're doing, or who you're with that makes you happy or unhappy. It's what you think about. He said, for example, 2 people could be in the same place at the same time doing the exact same thing, and one is miserable and one is happy. Why? Because of a different mental attitude, close quote. And then there was this wonderful study. I'm married to a biostatistician for 44 years. I'm 66 years young, and this sweet man and I met when we were 12 years old. But anyway, his name is Gilbert, and I adore him. But what he, now I'm thinking about my husband. Oh, statistics. Yes, he's a statistician. See, now may that happen to you when you're 66. Get all Twitter faded. But there was a wonderful study done with 2,000 people over a 10-year period. This is a very substantial study. And here's the conclusion. Happy people and unhappy people tend to have had very similar life experiences. The difference is that the average unhappy person spends more than twice as much time thinking about unpleasant events in their lives, whereas the happy people tend to, here comes an action verb, seek and rely upon information that brightens their personal outlook. That's why I don't watch the news. It's like the media would have us think that the sky is falling. And there are magnificent things happening today in every nation, in every province, every state. That's wonderful. And we are so much more alike than we are different. So much more alike. Later I'll tell you, there's this darling girl that I love who lives in Kenya comes to mind, but I'll tell you that story later, maybe in the day if we have time. So 7 ways. Are you ready? The very first way to create your own joy, no matter what's happening around you, and you could probably, if I said, what would it be? I bet you'd think of it. Be grateful. Focus on what you have, not on what you don't have. We know it, but do we do it? Do we do it? And as women, we're like, oh, look at her. We compare. We're really good at comparing. Stop the comparing and know that you're enough and be grateful for who you are right now today. So I was in Malaysia in Kuala Lumpur, putting on a Global Women's Summit. And Miss America was in my audience. And she was gorgeous. And I kept kind of looking at her, you know, and I'd talk to her, and I kept looking at her. She really had the most beautiful face of any woman I'd ever seen. So at the first break, I went up to her, I said, I'm sorry, I keep looking at you. You really have the prettiest face I've ever seen on a human being. And she said, oh, Dr. Paula, no. She said, come here with me. And I was so confused. And she went over in the corner, she says, look at my legs. And she pulled out a long skirt, and there, sure enough, were these two long, skinny legs. And I thought, is there a woman on the planet just say, I'm enough? You know, we're all trying to get better, but can we just look in the mirror and say, I'm good today? Can you do that? So be grateful. And you know, the women who can't walk, the women who can't hear, the women who can't see, and you just think, my goodness, I'm so blessed. And you count your blessings. And every time you think of a negative, you just replace it. And you say, oops, there I am again. I'm not going to go there. And you know, you just label negativity, replace. I'm getting better and better every day. You know, you just say, or I'm more patient and loving every day. Whatever it is you want to say, that self-talk is so vitally important. So be grateful for what you have. Second one is be others-centered instead of self-centered. Look through windows instead of mirrors. And don't make it about you. So many of our young people make their lives about them. And as soon as you break through and you understand that as soon as you're in service in your heart and you're not thinking about you, then your life changes. I have many heroes. One of my heroes is Mother Teresa. And you know, she died the same day that Princess Diana died. And it kind of overshadowed a little bit her passing. And I love that. She was so short and darling, and she said this. She said, spread love wherever you go. First of all, in your own home, give love to your husband, your wife, your children, your next door neighbor. Now here's my favorite line and my favorite quote. Ready? Let no one ever come to you without leaving better and happier. Is that awesome? Let no one ever come to you without leaving better. God's kindness. Kindness in your face, kindness in your smile, kindness in your warm greeting. Close quote. I love that little girl. And so then she had one thing on her wall. She had two things. She had a picture of Christ. She said, I read it every day. Do you want to know what Mother Teresa read every day?
Yes.
It's a little long, so stay with me. You ready? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, we're good. All right, it goes like this. It was written by a man named Kent Keith. Said, people are often unreasonable and self-centered. Forgive them anyway. If you're kind, people may accuse you of ulterior motives. That's okay. I'll just keep talking. Okay, so what are our three? The third one was be flexible and cheerful. So here's a true story. There was a man named Charles Garfield, and he was on his way to have lunch with a friend, and he had to go across the San Francisco Golden Gate Bridge. It's in California, up in Northern California. It's a toll bridge. Do you have any toll roads you have to pay to go across?
Yeah.
Okay. So they have little toll booths. Do you have toll booths here? Toll booths?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Because it'll help with the story if you know what I'm talking about. So he was driving along, and he heard some loud music, and he didn't see the windows of any of the other cars down, and he didn't know where the music was coming from. And he keeps driving, and then he notices that the music was coming from one of the toll booths. And there was a young man in there just like dancing, just twirling around, and the music's blaring and he's singing. And Dr. Garfield rolls down his window. He says, "What are you doing?" And the kid says, "I'm having a party." "Well, what about the others?" And he says, "Well, what do they look like to you?" And he says, "Well, they look like toll booths. What do they look like to you?" And he said, "Vertical coffins." He said, like live people just brainlessly go through the pictures and draw. And he said, at the end of the day, like Lazarus rising from the dead, they go home. He said they do this every day. Well, Dr. Garfield was so amazed. Here's a kid with a philosophy about his job at a toll booth. 7 people dead on the job, and the 8th has learned to live and live enthusiastically. And he said, "What makes the difference for you?" And the kid says, "I don't know why. I don't know why people think I have a boring job. Hey, I have a corner office. Glass on all sides. This is why half the Western world comes on vacations here each year. And each morning I just get to stroll in and dance." And so my girlfriends and my boyfriend, are you dancing through your days? And if you're not, why not? This is a choice. Now, I know there are days you can't dance. It's like the day when they said to me, "Mrs. Felingham, this child needs immediate brain surgery." Another day, another doctor, "Mrs. Felingham, this child's kidneys have completely failed. She'll be on dialysis the rest of her life." "Mrs. Felingham, there's no life in the child. There's no life in the child you're carrying." And that happened to me 5 times. I have 8 live births and 5 late-term miscarriages. I wanted a large family. It's a life plan, don't judge me. We all want different things in life. I wanted a lot of children. And then a phone call from my son, Special Forces Green Beret medic from Fort Bragg. And he said, "Mom, I'm shipping out to Afghanistan today." And he was gone for a year, and he did things no mama ever would want her son to do. And then they shipped him to the red zone in Iraq, where he served for another year after that. And this mama held her breath for 2 years for that boy. Those aren't days that you dance, and I know that each one of you have had hardships. You've gone through, and maybe some of you are going through right now, what I call a refiner's fire. On those days you don't dance, but those are the days you learn how to dance when the sun is shining. You learn to have a grateful heart. You learn to pay attention to the beauty in life. And little things become very important. And relationships are very important, because you never know how long they'll last. My friends, these are choices. Every day, with every thought you think, you have a choice relative to what you do with that thought. And it makes me sad to know that so many of my sisters around this globe are tripping over their lower lips. They're sad because of things that don't matter. So flexible and cheerful. Don't sweat the small stuff. And most of it's small stuff. The man that wrote that book, he was on his way, Dr. Richard Carlson, he was on his way to he was 42 years old, a wife and 2 children, to be on the Today Show in New York, and he had a massive heart attack in the plane and died. And 42 years old, and he was the proponent of don't sweat the small stuff, life is short. And then that happened to him. It makes you pay attention. So then the 4th way that you can create your own joy and happiness, no matter what's happening around you, is to stop worrying. Stop worrying. Worry is like a rocking chair. It keeps you busy, it doesn't get you anywhere. And we're very good at it, girls. The men are far better at not worrying than we are. Let it go. In Spanish, no sea importante. It's just important. We'd probably get like 10 different languages in here if we did that. But the self-talk goes along with this. Talk to yourself as kindly as you talk to your best friends. When those little voices start talking negatively, what makes you think you could do that? Whatever that negativity is, you just say, sit down, be quiet. I'm not going to listen to you because you have a choice. Stop listening to those little voices that would bring you down. And then my girlfriends, don't ever say anything about anyone that you wouldn't say right to their face. Is that okay? Another way to create your own joy, no matter what's happening around you, is to forgive. Easily, quickly. Forgive. This is a beautiful day to think about every single person in your life that you hold any angst about. Let it go. Let it go. Love them. And I need to step out of the box a little bit and say, if you're a Christian and you don't forgive, then you don't understand why Jesus Christ, his teachings. How many are Christian in this room? Raise your hand. Be proud. How many are Muslim? How many are Hindu? How many are Buddhist? I think I have as many of those. I'm Christian, but I have as many of those other religions, those friends, because of I've been around the world so many times, as I do Christians. And I believe all of us are praying to the same God. And he loves you. And he wants you to be happy. And anytime you're unforgiving, what does that say about your discipleship? So I want you to let go of any angst you have about any person. And women hold those longer and harder than men do for some reason. So I need to just invite you to do that. This weekend is a great time to let go and just love, love, love. You know, how many are doing something right now that they love doing in their life? Like finding something that they love that they're doing. George Bernard Shaw, here's a quote that you'll have in your email. He said, "This is the true joy in life." What do you think he's going to say? Being used for a purpose, recognized by yourself as a mighty one. Being a true force of nature instead of a feverish little clod of ailments and grievances, complaining that the world will not devote itself to making you happy. He said, I want to be thoroughly used up when I die, for the harder I work, the more I live. I rejoice in life for its own sake. Life is no brief candle to me. It's a sort of splendid torch, which I've got to hold up for the moment, and I want to make it burn as brightly as possible before handing it on to future generations. Close quote. Yeah. So that's the next one, is find something you love doing and do it with all your heart. Do it well. Find a way to monetize it and then share it with the world. And the very last way to create your own joy, and there are many, but the last one I'm going to share today, is to ask yourself good questions. We ask ourselves bad questions sometimes. We say, why can't I ever remember names? Or why do I do... And really, all you have to do is just ask simple questions like, who can I help today? What can I learn from this? How can I create my own happiness starting right now? What can I do to make myself a better person? What can I learn? All those great questions. When you fill your soul with those kind of thoughts, you can't help but be happy. It happens. Now, of course, I understand there are days you're sad, but most of the time, you're dancing in the rain. You're dancing in the rain. So I want to close with two stories. The first one is about the Asian bamboo tree. How many know this story? Oh, good. I love telling stories. It only grows in Asia, and it has a great big seed. And you put it under the ground. You plant it. You water it. You weed it, you know, you make sure it's got enough sunlight. You water it again. You do this for an entire year and it doesn't come up. You do it for a second year and a third year, and I'm not making this up, you do it for a fourth year. You keep watering that for 4 years. Nothing.